Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm your host Brandon for episode 1. Joining me is co-host Blake. Before we begin, let's have a short recap. In episode 1, part 1, we talked about the competitive benefits with the mind. It included motivation, driving force, personal growth, productivity, efficiency, and creativity. This was the first of 5 topics we discussed. For part 2, we're going to talk about the remaining 4. Hope you enjoy. Let's get started.
Time. It keeps going. Issues never solved. This can't go on. Boston rain, mind flood doubt. Rock the storm, post cloud, nice side of route. Hindrance with this cough include. Weather storm handout, challenge will elude.
Jumping into topic 2, competitive negatives with the mind. I'm going to go over bad stress, feeling burnout, repeated comparisons, and lack of collaboration. Blake's going to pick it up with isolation, bad decisions, hypercompetitiveness, and unethical practices. So just like the first video, we're going to set a timer on our smartwatches here. This one's going to be 1 minute and 30 seconds. Okay, I'm starting right now. Alright guys, so in all forms of competition, there are also going to be some good stress and bad stress. The good stress is the productivity and efficiency, the willing to get better and improve your craft. But then, while you're improving your craft, you can also have bad stress. That's the stress that comes in with competing. So I like to call bad stress the weight of the competition. So the weight of the competition can be either managed well or poorly. So if it is managed poorly, you usually like to mitigate to just one goal at a time until you can get better at it. But let's just say if it wasn't managed well. So going back to that poorly sense, right? So let's say the poorly has an impact on a day, month, or even year kind of basis. Then it will go to what's called burnout. So burnout is that loss of competitiveness. It's that complete hopelessness. You have a complete breakdown mentally, emotionally, and physically. The best way for that is just to get away from the competition, kind of a nice little vacation. I got about 20 seconds here. So next one I want to talk about is repeated comparison. So I'd like to talk about Theodore Roosevelt's famous quote here. So comparison is the thief of joy. And when we're talking about this comparison, I'm talking about a life comparison. So you don't want to compare your life to the next person because everyone has a different upbringing. Everyone has a different influential figures in their life that can really impact their choices. So you don't really want to compare your life to that. You have to just enjoy the journey. Lastly, my time is up here, but I'd like to talk about lack of collaboration. So I'd like to talk about this in a music sense. So let's just say you're a piano former, so a pianist, and you're just, you're composing music as well. But let's just say you're just writing some music today. So you want something a little bit different than a piano solo. So let's go ahead and add some woodwinds, some strings into it. So with that, it creates a new element of music. So that's one of the best things about collaboration is you get to have a new skill in mind. So you want to have your soul as part, but you also want to be a collaborative spirit as well, because let me tell you why. It can spark creativity as well as new improvisations for new projects for stuff like that. That's the kind of sense you want to have. So you want to have a soulless spirit as well as a collaborative spirit. So my time here is up. So I'm going to again let Blake take over from here. So Blake, take over on isolation.
All right, thank you, Brian. So give me just a moment, guys. I'm going to set my timer to 1 minute and 30 and let's get started. Now, this is competitive negatives with the mind part 2. Now, let's cover isolation. When you think of isolation, you can feel distant, shrouded, loneliness, pain, suffering. These are all negative attributes of competition. Now, of course, when we enter a competitive environment, we're all going to feel this way. We can't escape from that. But there is strength that can rise from feeling isolated. You can develop an individual persona in combination of a collaborative persona. This is when intellectual pursuit can begin. This can be very prosperous. Now, of course, overly isolation, feeling that way, it can lead to bad decisions. And these are the bad decisions. Let's say you're in a sports game, timer's on, decision has to be made quickly. It's hard to have mental clarity in such a tightrope situation. You make a bad pass, you end up losing the game, and someone wants to point the finger. This is when bad decision competition can feel bad, overwhelming, make you feel negative. But the thing is, there's also knowledge from it. Now, this also leads to hypercompetitiveness. I have 10 seconds, so I'm going to just get through this. So hypercompetitiveness is this. Now let's say you're always losing. And then you think in your mind, I don't want to lose. I want to win no matter what. So I do anything necessary, even if it means unethical, just to win. I can't see myself losing. There's no value in it. So this is when hypercompetitiveness takes place. Now, unfortunately, this to me, in my opinion, is an undesirable trait. If you don't see the value in losing, I didn't say overly multiple times losing. I'm speaking in the sense of if you lose just here and there, you can still learn from losing. There's value in it. And we're going to touch base on that just a little bit before. But now let's talk about the last one, unethical practices. Now I just made a little reference on cheating is involved, doing things not filled with integrity. Now that's when it comes to hypercompetitiveness because you'll do anything necessary to win. But we'll touch base on that a little bit more towards the end. Now let's go to topic 3, level of impact. Small scale competition versus large scale. The first thing we'll let Brennan cover is imposter syndrome, defeated mindset. All right, Brennan, take it away.
All right, guys, for topic 3, so I'd like to talk about our subheadings first. So we have imposter syndrome, and what Blake was talking about just now. Is there any value in losing? And then lastly, I'd like to talk about validation versus invisibility on a small scale competition versus a large scale. So the first thing I'd like to talk about here is imposter syndrome. So same thing, we're going to set a timer here. I'll say, what, two minutes, is that right? Let's do...
Yes, 2 minutes sounds pretty good.
Okay, let's do 2 minutes. Okay, guys, I'm setting my timer right now. So, imposter syndrome. So, first, I'd like to talk about, well, what is imposter syndrome? So, I'm just going to read it here. The persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. So I like to highlight inability, So this syndrome is worse when it comes to high playing fields. So let's just say a highly competitive environment when the pressure is on. Everyone's, at their peak performance and you feel like you're just not achieving that result, or you're just around, just surrounded by greatness, but you just don't feel like you have that greatness. This can happen at work or school or anything like that. So it can happen. So the best way to kind of just get away from imposter syndrome is just remember, you're there for a reason. You just don't know it yet, but you're there for a reason. Just got to remember that. And you'll kind of just work your way into it. So that way you don't have that imposter syndrome, because you don't want to carry that. Because like I said, that can go into that bad stress and eventually burn out because you don't believe in yourself. So you don't kind of want that. So Blake's going to take it over here with, Blake, I guess you can finish this with this. Is there any value in losing? So Blake, take it from here.
I appreciate it, Brian. So yes, there is value in losing. Now, losing consecutively, that's a negative thing, because then we didn't take the time to reflect, look back and say, what did I do wrong? Why did I choose that answer over that answer? How do I see things compared to how others see things? Now, let's say you lost just a little bit, right? This is the time to reflect. Decision making, judgment, adaptability, experience. Because over time, then you'll say, I remember when I made that mistake. Not this time. I gained this much experience. I see things differently. Because then you can enter a new environment. And you can say, there's always something you don't know. This is intellectual curiosity, pursuit. Because there's always something you don't know. You're not going to know everything. That's what makes life interesting. Enjoy the journey, just as Brandon just said. Now let's talk about validation versus invisibility. Brandon, if you want to take over from here, then I can also touch base on it as well.
Yes. So this is going to compare from a small scale versus large scale. So we'll first talk about just small scale competition. So let's talk about invisibility first on a small scale competition. So it's just with a handful of competitors. You're not essentially going to have that invisibility unless there's a handful of competitors that just outperform you in just like, let's say athletics, for example, and you're just not competing, for example, from there. Now, passively on a large scale, the invisibility is more prominent because there's more competitors, and as well as just they have the ability to, let's say, best you, for example. So that's going to have, so visibility is going to be happen on a larger scale kind of way. So going back now to, let's say, validation. So validation, for example, on a small scale competition, you can have a little bit more validation because there's just a handful of people there. So on a larger scale, same thing. The validation is just much harder. So unless you're a top performer, unless you're already well known, that's the only thing here. So that's going to be the level of impact. All right, so nextly, we're going to again talk about topic 4, which is the achievements through competition. Our subheadings we chose are going to be stats, and then depending on the personal choice, we can talk about education versus training. Which one would be like more of a choice for you? So I'm going to let Blake take over here with stats. So Blake, whenever you're ready, go ahead and take over.
All right, appreciate it. And then now I'm going to set my timer to, what do you want to do, minute and 30 or 2 minutes?
Let's do minute 30.
Okay, minute and 30 seconds. All right, give me just a moment. Okay, we'll just touch briefly on this. Achievements through competition, now stats. This is your resume. This is your grades. This is your work performance. Music competitions. Personal stats follow you throughout life. It's your sheet of growth. Your way to show to the market, I am this person. I am this competitive. This is why I want. This is attractive on the market. Because you have to be attractive on the market. It's very important to do that. Now, stats can change over time. You can get better. You can learn different things. You can add things to your resume. This is what you want to remain competitive. Always list your achievements. If you learn a different language, just touching briefly on it. Now, education versus training. Now, Brandon, I only have 35 seconds. I'll just touch briefly on it. So for education versus training, now education, you have a more broad sense of mind, more diverse thinking. You can hop from one department to the next. Just like, let's say, if someone goes into a music major, you can jump into being in medicine, for to say. You have more of a diverse, different way of walking through different majors and different way of thinking. Now for training, this is all specialized, what you want to specialize in. It doesn't give you that worldly sense, but gives you the training objectives specialized just for the task at hand. Now, Brian, you can just touch a little bit on it, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, I'll touch earlier. Let me go ahead and set my timer here to minute and 30. Okay, starting now. So like Blake was saying here, so education versus training. So education will give you that broad sense of worldly issues. You'll be able to go in and learn about multiple different things, but the nice part about that is that you'll gain skills not just from like on the job wise, but just from like solving world issues. Like there'll be projects you have to work for. So you may have to travel across the world just to help them out. So with that education, it can really help along that lines. Now for training, so for example, like say with specialized jobs, like Blake was saying here, it can help on those specialized skills just be handled the job on the task right here. But ultimately, it is a personal choice. So this all kind of falls into stats. So one thing with competition is that you have to be critical, but you also gotta be judgmental also about how you kind of craft that achievement for you. So ultimately, you can think about this way, how you want to craft it, but also be welcome to feedback for that craft as well. Hey, I think you'd be good at this. Maybe you want to build up on this skill. Hey, I think you'd be good at that. And also listen to your own voice as well. So when you put all that together and you add that education, you can kind of craft your own journey. And that's the best part, is achievements through competition. All right, so lastly, we're going to talk about topic 5 here, which is going to be just conclusion. So let's go ahead and just go back to the question here. So the question for this episode is competition healthy? How a competitive environment shapes the mind for the positive or negative. So my question is competition healthy for anyone? So just in my opinion I'm going to set a timer here for 4 minutes. We're just going to go back and forth and just talk about this conclusion here. So is competition healthy for anyone? I would say yes, it is, but it is heavily dependent on the mindset and approach that you take on competition. That is the only way it's going to be competitive and healthy for you. So, for example, we're all going to have negative stress in our lives, eventually the burnout. But to be able to pick yourself back up and go back at it again, that's the competitive mindset that it takes. That's what I mean it's going to be healthy for anyone. Blake, I'm going to let you have your approach here.
Set my timer to 1:30.
Go ahead.
Is competition healthy for anyone? Yes, fully agree with Brandon. Now, he's definitely right. It all depends on the mindset, because you have to make sacrifice in competition. Everyone has got to make sacrifice. More intelligence. Sometimes you got to distance away from friends a little bit. But just to be on your grind. Stay on your grind, but have a fine balance between work-life balance. That's the key here. Then set yourself personal goals. What do you want to be in life? One of my goals is I want to be a virtuoso. So does Brandon. I'm grinding every day to become closer to becoming a virtuoso. But see, that's just my goal, my end goal. But in a way, is competition healthy? That all depends on you and how you shape and look at things. When you're a competitor, it feels good. It's like I'm getting better. I'm growing my skills. This is bliss. You want to remain that way, but don't overly get consumed by it, thinking like the burnout, like Brandon said. Just do it at a nice level, a nice pace. Then it'll be much appreciated. Now, going to the second question, how can competition be motivation to get the things you want? This all comes from driving force. How far are you willing to go? Are you willing to read that book? Are you looking to wake up every day? My timer is finished, but let me just touch just a little bit on it. Are you willing to wake up every day? How early? How bad do you want it? Do you want to be competitive on the market? Do you want to be attractable? Do you want to attract other people? Do you want to help motivate people? These are the things that you need, because you can compare yourself to the next person, but you want to be an asset to the world, an asset to business. This is drive. This is what you want. Now, Brian, go ahead and touch on number 3 if you want. Thank you.
So the last one we're going to talk about is how a driven mindset can change one's perspective on life. So that's going back with the question we had, how can competition be motivation to get the things you want? Well, the things with competition, you can never take it on a passive approach. If you really want to get the things you want, you have to be active in every waking manner in all the things that you do. This don't mean you have to be extremely calculated. This just means that you have to be active in the things you want to learn so you can get those things. That is all. This can all be improved with, you'll gain a lot of soft skills, emotional intelligence, time management, collaboration, and also self-improvement. All right, so guys, this is going to be the finish for today's episode here. So on It's Competition Healthy, how a competitive environment shapes the mind for the positive and negative. Appreciate you guys for joining us for this episode today. We'll catch you next time. Please subscribe to our channel here and then look for more next time.
All right, thank you guys. See you guys for episode 2.
All right, thanks guys. Have a good one.
Clarity of mind, renewed purpose, challenges embraced, taking the next step and make a difference. Sunrise, awake new vigor, cast a shadow down, embrace life's rhythm, path laid, falls through command, display. forward to expand. Reflections, indication of memory, enslaving vitality, greatest wisdom, victory. First time, the moment sees